how can we say God is loving when it seems that Christians carry this message that LGBTQ people just aren't accepted for who they are?
Yeah, not accepted for who they are, and kind of like God must not love them. So I guess my response would be, I'm not entirely sure I'm accepted as I am. So the question is, how come, are they not good enough? And I would say they're not actually good enough, and neither am I. And I don't mean this in any false humility, but I might be just even less good than my LGBTQ friends. I could just feel it when I'm around them. If someone else is doing the measuring, I certainly feel like that. The message of the cross of Jesus Christ is that none of us are good enough, zero. And he's the only one that can make us good before God. And that just puts the ground at the foot of the cross level. So nobody comes in with like half a step up than the rest of us. The beautiful and the smart and the wealthy, they don't get like a special business class treatment, and I'm back here flying economy. It's this whole thing. We either accept the goodness and the grace, the forgiveness that Jesus gives us, or we fold our arms angrily and say, God has to take me the way that I am. And I don't think that that's fair for anybody. I don't think that that's what God says to anybody. Oh, you're Presbyterian. Oh no, come right here to the front of the line for sure. Oh, you've got none of it, right? And not the Hindus, the Muslims, the atheists. No, the same response to all of them, including our LGBTQ friends. I love you. Will you, like everyone else, come and confess your sin and find forgiveness for this? And will you trust me? We live this life out together. That's the invitation. We have to say, though, that that's an extra challenge. That's an extra challenge to have a longing for intimacy that has got a prohibition sign on it. And so way too long, we've waved our fingers and say, ooh, or you shouldn't be that way, or those sorts of things. And you and I both want to say, dang, that's not our struggle, but we want to figure out what it is to love you and love God together. Will you come on the journey, with us? One of the guys that had some influence on us was like, before we get talking about your sexual orientation, can we talk about your spiritual orientation? Because that's really the piece that matters most. And then our sexuality, and whether we are single or married, out of that can sort itself out in its own awkwardness. None of this is like, oh, that's amazing. We'll work it out together, but let's talk about our orientation, our position around who God is, Jesus, and sort ourselves from there. I want to say something about community, but actually I want to hear what you have to think about that question.
I think that's really important, the community that we form around one another, and taking that so seriously, because we all need intimacy, regardless of our life circumstances. I think, too, it's helpful to say, it probably needs to be said in our cultural climate, that there is this sense that if you accept me, for me to feel accepted by you, you must agree with everything that I say and think and do. And I think we have to separate those two. We can have differences of opinion. We can talk about things differently and still accept one another. I don't think that acceptance demands an immediate alignment of all opinions. And I think that's a false move that our culture would make us make sometimes.
Think back 60 years ago when this was all sort of sexual revolution was going on, and there was sort of more momentum, more voice being found for, at least for gay and lesbian experience. And for whatever reasons, the church really frowned on this and came down hard and loved any law that was criminalizing and has been harsh on this group of people. I wish, and maybe, the best time to plant an oak tree is 60 years ago, second best is now. I wish that when those individuals had come into the church, people would have said, whoa, no, that's not my challenge, but I struggle with looking at pornography, or I've had an affair, or I'm an alcoholic, or whatever else, other issues. We're all got some junk. Your thing is its own different thing. But do you want to go after Jesus with us? I wish that had been our story. There's a story about a guy that was drug addicted. This is a little bit of a shift. A little drug addicted, was California, Jesus people, but this was just a guy who was clearly high, and he stumbled into a church, and he wandered to the front of the sanctuary, and he sat down at the front, cross-legged, and everybody's horrified. They're all there with their suits and their ties and their white gloves on and hats. And one of the elders got up and walked up to the front, sat down beside this guy, took his shoes off and crossed his leg and sat there cross-legged. And
that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's where I want to be. Like, I have nothing on anyone, and I'm a beggar who thinks he's found food, and I want to share the food.
Yeah.